Hello guys, welcome to this watch review. Today I'll be sharing with you my Citizen F900 satellite wave model. This has been on my wrist probably the most out of any other watch in my collection, and that is because this is my work watch. There's a few reasons for that, and after watching this video you may well want to make one of these your daily wearer as well. So in this review, it's been quite a while since I've had it, about 3.5 years or so. So I'm going to share my experience of this watch generally, offer my opinion. I won't bore you with too many technical details. In fact, it'll take too long to explain everything this watch has in it. However, just to kick things off with the basics, this is the reference CC9015-54E. From Citizen. It's an Eco Drive satellite wave model. The caliber is the F900. It's stated as 44 diameter. I've just measured the thickness at 13.3. It's about 54 lug to lug if you count the end links, and the lug width here is 21, a bit of a funny measurement there. The watch is solid titanium, and it's actually referred to as Citizen's Super Titanium. I'll get back onto that material in a minute. The first thing that drew me to this watch actually was a few years ago started traveling quite a lot. I moved countries, moved jobs, and I found myself being able to travel a lot more. And I always saw this model and the Seiko Astron advertised in the airports, and one of the reasons for these models being, obviously shown off in airports with travelers is because of their GPS timekeeping ability. Now, what this watch can do, if you don't already know, the satellite wave is a GPS power. It has the GPS feature built into it. Not only that, this is solar powered, so actually you don't need to charge this up or change batteries. You just wear it and it works. So what happens is the GPS receiver inside the watch, as long as the watch is facing the sky, will occasionally pick up the signal and set the time firstly to wherever you are, and then adjust the timing for accuracy as well. Now, out of the box, this movement, if you just put it in a drawer and it didn't get that signal, this movement would be accurate to around 5 seconds a month. However, it is significantly more accurate than that. It's probably, well, it is the most accurate watch in my collection, because if I'm wearing it and it's occasionally exposed to the sunlight, firstly, it will get charged, and secondly, it will actually pick up that signal and set the time perfectly a few times a day. Now, I'm a teacher, so in my job, timing is quite important. I cannot be late for lessons, I cannot be late for meetings and so on. So I wanted a watch I could just pick up, grab and go, and a quartz watch just makes sense. Better still, a solar powered watch, which I don't need to worry about batteries, and even better still, a watch with this GPS function where it changes the date automatically for the odd months. It's got a day of the week, it's even got daylight savings and so on if I need it. And on top of all of that, when I travel, I hit one button and the time is perfect again. When I first picked this up in London, I bought it from Ernest Jones there a few years ago. I got the tax back. I think I paid a total of around £680 or something. So quite a lot less than the $2,000-ish I think they are charging as a list price. But for that kind of money, it is completely worth it. I'd say for around $1,000, this is completely worth it. The first thing I remember noticing actually is I was wearing it home and I was getting on the tube, and my second hand was perfectly in time with the train station information sort of screens, which kind of made me realize, it is actually genuinely useful to have a super accurate watch for travel and for general day-to-day activities, meetings, and so on. So that is kind of the basis of why I chose to buy it. Having bought it, I have learned quite a few other things. Firstly, the dial is absolutely gorgeous. Let's zoom in on this dial. It is very busy. Citizen are known for quite busy dials. But if we look, starting from the middle, we've got those sort of sword style hands. We've got that little I always think this looks like a spy plane or something, kind of like a sword handle with wings as the seconds hand, nice and legible. Of course, it's ticking as a quartz watch typically ticks, but super aligned, everything just lines up beautifully. Where the citizen text is, I believe that is actually your solar element, so that's where the light hits the dial, or I could be wrong, it could actually be in the subdials. But either way, it's got that interesting sort of texture. Outside of that, where it says no and okay, is actually a clear acrylic or glass piece with the markers kind of jetting out of it. And then we've got a chapter ring, which is again marked in a few different ways, and I'll try and sort of tell you what some of these things mean and what they do. We've also got a date and a day of the week with this little arrow, and a few other functions, including a second time zone or a GMT 24-hour clock at the bottom. Around the outside, we've got a bezel. This doesn't move. This is has got all of the short sort of terms for the major cities, and just below that in the chapter ring is their sort of hour plus or minus times for the time zones. Also on the chapter ring, actually, we've got this line that kind of gradually gets bigger up to 6 o'clock. That's actually used for your light level meter, which I'll try and show you in a minute. On the other side, we also have power reserve, and we have day of the week. And this final window, which is a bit covered right now, is actually your mode. So you can change this to become a chronometer, stopwatch, set an alarm, for example, and so on. So there is a ton of features here. I'm not going to be able to show you all of them. I'm just going to show you the key ones that I genuinely use. Let me actually show you right now. I'll cut away to me going outside and showing you how that world time, that GPS function works, because that is probably the most impressive of the lot, considering this is a solar powered watch which you never have to charge. I was just blown away by it when I first saw it. So we're outside, and here's a little demo of the satellite wave function on the Citizen F900. So I've just set it to the incorrect time. I'm gonna press and hold this button at the top shoulder, and you can see the hand spin round. I just need to hold it, and I can let go now because it is searching for that GPS signal. You can see RX GPS. I'm going to try and keep the dial facing the sky. Okay, so it's picked up the signal. It's gone to DXB on the dial, and it's just set the time accurately. And if I was to check this against my phone or a digital time, I would see that those seconds are exactly right. So pretty cool. The nice thing with this is obviously when you travel, you can just press that button and it'll automatically update the time. You don't need to mess around accurately setting the time again on your watch. You can just press it, and this subdial here at the bottom also sets your you can set that to any other world time. That's a 24-hour sort of GMT time at the bottom as well. Gorgeous. So you've seen the timekeeping and time setting. One thing I wanted to draw your attention to was that crystal. If you have ever seen any of the Citizen watches, including the maybe slightly cheaper satellite wave models, there was an F150 model which shares a lot of that technology with this one, at a much more affordable price, just a few, maybe half the price or even less. I actually compared both of them side by side at one stage, and one thing that really shines about this watch is the crystal is completely different. This crystal has the best level of AR coating I've ever seen, maybe even better than some of Breitling's AR crystals. By AR I mean anti-reflective coatings, and at certain angles, I find this especially in natural light when the dial's nice and clean, it looks like there's no crystal there. And because of those reflections from inside, it even accentuates that. So it is a truly remarkable dial and a truly remarkable crystal. So that was one thing that I didn't really expect, but was pleasantly surprised by. Another thing is this super titanium coated material. So obviously it's titanium, so it's very light. The bracelet, one complaint I had before was that it does feel a bit sharp at the edges, but you do get used to that after a while. Now, the bracelet is the best example of this. I've had this watch on my wrist, I don't know how many times, but over 3.5 years, I would say for essentially 3 years, I will have worn this every day. Now, if you look at the bracelet, it looks in incredibly good condition. There are a few marks and rashes, especially on this side and the clasp. But considering I also work with my hands a lot, I'm a design technology teacher, so I work in a workshop with tools, equipment, machines. I type on a laptop a lot. I do a lot of desk sort of diving with this, and the condition is just fantastic. Whatever Citizen are doing to their titanium to turn it into super titanium, it is brilliant. I would not hesitate to recommend it, and I wouldn't hesitate in buying another one. It is probably the best watch material I have seen yet. The bezel, you can see there's a little mark there, but aside from that, I believe it's a ceramic coated material of some sort. I'm not actually sure what the material of the bezel is, but whatever it is, it's incredibly tough as well. And you can see that blue AR coating coming through at certain angles. So heavily AR coated, but gorgeous as well. Now, there are a few other functions. I'm going to show you quickly the chronograph. So you just pull the crown and you can cycle the mode, and then this will set the watch up as a stopwatch essentially. So we can use it the regular way. Top button is start and stop, and then bottom button here is reset. To be honest, I probably never use this function, but it also gives you a split time here on the left. And then another feature, I'm not sure it's going to work here, but let's try, is the LLI. If you go onto that, that's the light level indicator. Firstly, in this subdial, it shows you the power reserve you have remaining. So that just kind of helps you see if you may need to charge it a bit. If you've not worn it for a while, maybe worth leaving it out in the garden for a bit to soak up the sun. But how to use this is you actually just press the top shoulder button, and it will give you a scale of how much light is hitting the dial. So at the moment it's 0, and this is where that sweeping line comes into play, just on this side from 1 to 6. As you can see, it gets bigger as we go to 6. So the seconds hand will basically point. I don't know if I can make it pick up enough light here. I can't. You have to be closer to the light source to see it, but it does actually keep moving and sort of showing you where the light is. That could be useful if you want to charge it, so you want to place it somewhere where you're going to get the most efficient charging. To be honest, I have never had to do that. I've never had to actually think about charging this watch. I just wear it on my wrist. I think when I drive to work, a lot of sun hits it through the window anyway. And actually, while it's doing that, it's also resetting the time to update itself. So after a while, just sat in my, say I go on holiday for 3 weeks, come back, this might be a little bit out of sync. As soon as I wear it again, it will sort itself. It's also, given its accuracy, I'll just put it on the regular time setting there. Given its accuracy, it's also very useful to have a very accurate, high accuracy quartz watch to set your automatics to. I find it much easier to set my automatic watches accurately if I've got a running seconds hand, analog seconds hand reference like this, compared to a phone or a digital watch. Now, a couple of the points. I'll give you a wrist shot in a minute and a Loom shot. On the case back, you've got the satellite wave logo. Let's see if I can get a good view of that. As you can see, case back is in excellent condition as well. Nice bracelet, of course, solid end links. It's got pins to size it. And here is actually quite a nice feature. It's got this ratcheting mechanism in the clasp. So you can actually, you just use the same buttons that you would use to pop it off. So you can actually push it, hang on, let me show you this better. You can push it in, and then to extend it, you just press the open buttons. Very simple, very effective, and actually very useful. I love that this watch has this, and more recently, more of my watches have started coming with these kind of things. So let me give you a quick shot on my 7 3/4 inch wrist. And I find that just the style of this watch, it's definitely sporty, but it could also be fairly formal. For my line of work, you know, I don't need to wear a dress watch, I need a tool watch. And this is quite a fancy tool watch, but it doesn't shout about itself. Yet it's packed with technology, accuracy, and so on. And it's super dependable, really brilliant. And also, the reason I chose GPS over something like radio controlled, or something that links to an atomic clock, is because here in the UAE, no such thing exists. So actually probably more than half the world, you can't get the signal anyway. So the GPS signal you can get literally anywhere, and it just works. I've even actually fired that button while I've been on a plane just to see the different time zones appear as we've been flying. If I've sat near the window, you can point it out to the sky and actually catch those signals as you go. Quite fun. I think that's everything I wanted to cover. But a solid watch, something that I would definitely recommend. They seem to be still available. They seem to be actually commanding better prices at the moment as well, but it's all in good reason. You will love it if you like the look of it. And there's a few other models as well. If you have a look at them, you might find that you really like it. Let me do a quick Loom shot for you, and then we'll close it out. So here's the Loom shot. I've just charged it up on a light I've got here at the house. It does show up more blue on camera, but there is Loom on Iron minute hands and the markers around the edge. Not a huge amount of Loom, but the dial is super legible anyway. And yeah, it does react quite nicely. One thing I wanted to say as well is the power reserve on this. It's solar powered, so in theory it will last forever. However, that only lasts as long as the battery or the rechargeable capacitor or whatever it is inside that stores that energy. This should be around 10 years before it needs a new one of those. I've got much older Citizen watches that have never needed this part replacing, so we'll see how it goes. If you were just to lock this away in a drawer where it doesn't see any light, the power reserve will last 5 years. So what it'll do is it'll go into like a sleep mode, and then as soon as you take it out and show it some light again, it will actually reset the time to what it should be, which I find just fascinating how this watch can remember that and run on such little power and memory, even though there is no battery to replace. It is, you know, people say the Apple Watch is a smartwatch and so on. It is, but you have to charge it every day. This watch communicates with satellites. This is smarter than a lot of smartwatches actually, and it runs on the light. So considering Citizen brought this out maybe 10 years ago, fantastic. So anyway, you can tell I love it. It's my daily wearer. I'm not going to get rid of it. I'm going to keep wearing it. And this actually got me into watching YouTube videos, because that's how I learned a lot of these things, from watching my first watch reviews based on this model. So if you enjoyed this, I'm going to do a few other reviews of my other collection. So please subscribe, hit the like button, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.